live for the 24th season, the next to last stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Chris Schenkel. Glad to be back in this beautiful state of Connecticut. We have a championship pair today to give us some great scores. Last tournament before the Firestone, and here's the man that won the first two Hartford Opens, Nelson Burton Jr. Bo.
Thank you, partner. Thank you. Chris, this championship pair, 27 and 28 here at Bradley Bowl, has yielded the highest scores we've seen in any championship round pair for the year. They're averaging 237 plus on the pair. And we have two fellas that need to qualify for the Firestone Tournament Champions with a victory today. And I know you got a good friend here who was with ABC 25 years ago with a great show. Maybe you can get him to give a little friendly persuasion to some of these players.
Okay. As American as apple pie, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to present this man who has lent his name to the Professional Bowlers Tour. And it's the first star to do that, Pat Boone.
Thank you, Chris. You could have said as American as bowling.
That's true.
I think Boone and bowling go together.
I think so.
We have for 40 years anyway. My dad taught me to bowl when I was 10. And then I bowled intermittently ever since, taught my daughters, all four of them to bowl. And now I'm starting on my grandkids. And when Ken West and the other folks here asked me to come be associated with a bowling tournament or a real pro event, I jumped at the chance. I love it.
You're a pro, so introduce our five bowlers.
Yeah, but not pro bowler. Let's make that clear. Okay, here are our top five finalists. First, on my left, Jim Miller. He qualified fifth. His hometown is Mesa, Arizona. This is his second championship round appearance this year. He needs a win today to qualify for next week's Tournament of Champions, as both said. Jim Miller. Good luck, Jim. And this short guy on my left is Dave Sutar, the great veteran PBA Hall of Famer. He's won 17 Professional Bowling Association titles. He's looking today, though, for his first win since 1982. Good luck, Dave. This redhead on my left now is Mark Williams. He qualified third. His hometown is Beaumont, Texas. They bowl outdoors there. Third championship round appearance this year, looking for his first PBA title this year. He's already got one career title, Mark Williams. And here's the fellow qualified second. His hometown is Albuquerque, New Mexico. He finished sixth in this tournament last year. And I just found out he was a voice major at New Mexico State. He's a baritone, a little competition, Gary Skidmore. And here's a real hometown excitement story. He's the top qualifier today. Hometown favorite from Norwich, Connecticut, just down the road a piece. 24 years old. This is his first career championship round appearance. His goal is to win a title. He might do it today. Thank you. This is John Kirker. Good luck. Back to you, Chris.
Pat, are you really going to meet the winner? Okay. Pat Boone. Okay. We'll be back with the first match after this.
CC Sports Exclusive is being sponsored by Quaker State Motor Oil, made only from 100% Pennsylvania-grade crude. Quaker State now comes in easy-to-pour and easy-to-reseal plastic bottles. By Peerless Faucet, installs in no time, lasts a long time. And by Monroe Shock Absorbers, makers of the Gasmatic, the most advanced shock Monroe has ever made. It's gas drug.
And Jim Miller, the Hall of Famer on the left. So, what a thrill to see him inducted himself to the ABC Hall of Fame and his remarks. And here's a young man that down the way should perhaps make a Hall of Fame, Jim Miller, Mesa, Arizona. What a way to start.
That's the kind of action we expected today. The championship pair, Chris, as we alluded to at the top of the championship round, has yielded some great scores. It's an ideal pair in the middle of this bowling center, 44 lanes. All the players have shot well in this pair, all playing between the second arrow and the first arrow.
And the man with 17 PBA professional titles has left a 10-pin on the right lane.
See the style of Dave Sutar, just a classic style. Terrific positions all the way through. Look at the shoulder-high arm swing, the shoulders level, the pivot step, driving into a deep knee bend. Good extension over the line. The reason he has won over $500,000 on the tour. Great style.
Look at that, 45 years old. Well-groomed, neatly presented, and his wife, Julie, two-time Women's Bowler of the Year, is in the audience. Flew in, and I guess as we get a little older, we need wives cheering us on.
You're right. Dave Sutar is the only player to bowl as Judy Sutar there with the glasses looks on. Dave Sutar is the only player in the field to bowl on black and white television, Chris.
Down the left lane. Spare up, second frame, first match. Robbed again, 7-pin on the left lane.
Soupy, as he's affably called, leaves the half-10 in the first frame and then really throws a super shot. Watch the knee bend, watch the drive, but watch the action of the wrist as he drives through. Here it is, the good wrist action, the great lift. Watch this ball set up, solid 7. Tough break. Soupy, easy spare for him, across lane into the left-hand corner.
All right, that's about spares. Dave Sutar finishing 6th here today. Jim Miller finished 5th. Jimmy Pritz, the defending champion, who last night received the Steve Nagy Award, the Good Guy Award, and he earned $4,575. Now with a strike up, second frame. Big double, though.
It's all going Miller's way so far. He's playing the second arrow, right down the second arrow with a urethane bowling ball as he's got a nice style of Jimmy Miller. Kind of a shoving motion as with his arm as he comes through. He bends his elbow slightly on the downswing, has good accuracy and good projection down the lane. Trips that 4, he loves it, has an 11-pin lead, can extend to 21 here with a strike in the third.
Still alive for the big bucks. Jim Miller of Mesa, Arizona, with 2 spares now. Sutar is back and will be shooting the third frame. The winner of this match will meet Mark Williams, and then Gary Skidmore, followed by John Kirker, a hometown professional.
Soupy's just have been almost perfect. He left the 10-pin in the first frame, the solid 7 in the second, and answers the bell with a strike in the third. Chris, Dave Sutar and I started the tour together. In 1961, we were roommates. We came out and bowled Los Angeles, Redondo Beach area, then up to San Francisco area and over to Vegas. There's 2 rookies out there. We won a total of $200, $100 apiece, and we made money at that rate.
And the 2 of you, 34 PBA titles. Another 10-pin for Dave Sutar. Snake pin.
Well, he told me right before the championship round started, he said, Bo, he says, I got a fairly good shot to the pocket from the outside line, but my ball is not breaking exactly the way I want it. It was evidenced by 3 out of the first 4 frames being apparently good hits. The result, only 1 strike.
Finding the channel at the very, very end. He has an open frame, missing the 10-pin on the left lane. Dave Sutar trailing by 33. We'll be back with more after this.
Believe it when the ball slid off in the channel. He's dug himself a deep hole, but really it's almost unbelievable how far he's behind after bowling so well the first 4 frames. Miller has a commanding lead 3 in a row.
4th frame. Crossing over and the string ends there. It's a 10-pin on the right. And the fans applaud. Great bowling fans in Connecticut.
Jimmy Miller trying to take advantage of every break, crosses over into the 1-2 or Brooklyn zone. Really doesn't get a good break for the first time. Normally you'll carry a lucky shot over on the Brooklyn, drive the 6 and the 10. Let's see how he handles the 10-pin. In the 4th frame, Sutar slid by. Miller has to convert the 4th in the 4th to maintain a 32-pin lead. And he's struggling.
And he gets it way outside. And now that makes things a little closer. 20 pins now.
He just completely lost the ball at the bottom of the swing. Look at him look down at his hand. It just slid off his thumb. The pressure of the championship round, unbelievable on these players. Let's see how he snaps back. That was really a wide shot. 20-pin difference.
Lots of pressure. Then again, they rebound. That's why they're on the Professional Bowlers Tour. $21,475 earned already on the part of her husband. That was Robin Miller, Jim's wife. Sutar, his 1985 earnings, $6,515.
Robin Miller is wondering what her husband's going to do up in the sixth frame as Sutar attacks in the fifth. What a gutsy move he made, Chris. He went to that outside line, threw every ball in the pocket, and then moved to the inside or track line between the second and third arrows. And that's really a tribute to how well these lanes are conditioned.
We've often seen mental fatigue, perhaps more than physical. So there is great concentration and shifting and moving and playing the lanes.
It's important to have self-confidence and determination. You can see that in Sutar's face. Let's test it on the 10-pin again.
Okay, we're in our first match live from Windsor Locks, Connecticut, a suburb of Hartford. And this is our very first match of the Pat Boone $150,000 Open. $27,000 to the winner today, 14 second, $8,000, $6,500, and the loser of this first game, $5,500, as Dave has requested and received a re-rack on the left lane. There he is, Pat Boone.
Superman used to do a lot of work live television back in the black and white days with ABC television, the 58, 59, and 60 era. The Pat Boone Show, and here's Sutar.
All right, Dave Sutar, Leawood, Kansas professional.
Watch the headpin action here. Sutar, the first hit that's a little off hit, really. Headpin goes to sideboard, knocks out the 2, 4, 5, and 7. He finally got a break. Now let's see how Jimmy Miller responds to that open frame in the fourth. He has a strike up in the fifth, can extend his lead to 30 with a double.
A four-pin, the 145-pounder that puts everything into it the last minute.
Watch the action of the 2-pin. That's the third pin on the left-hand part of your screen. It goes to the sideboard. There it goes, and knocks out the 7. When he tripped the 4-7 out in the second and third frames, the 2-pin does the action, knocks the 4 and the 7 out. Not to be this frame for Jimmy Miller.
160 pros started here on Wednesday. After 42 games, we're down to the top 5. All right. In that 160, Bo, there were 21 left-handers. None of them made the 24-man final.
Well, you're right, Chris, but as we see the super bikers, the supermen on super bikes, they'll be following us on Wide World. And, Chris, here's your favorite sport, the Hagler-Hearns bicycling match. Pick a winner for me, will you?
Well, no. I really, people might think I'm wagering. I like them both. They're both great champions, and what a middleweight bout that will be. It's an interview from Las Vegas on Wide World today. What happened, Nelson?
The first bad break that Jimmy actually got. He throws the ball solid in the pocket. As you watch this style here, a good move. He takes his time getting the foul line, waits for the shot. Good lift out over the line, about 18 inches over the line. The ball hits the 1, 3, and watch the action of the 5-pin. Here's the 1, the 3, the ball hits the 5 and drops it straight off the 8. Bad break, the solid 8.
It's like Hearns hitting Hagler with their best shot not going down.
You got it.
Uh-huh. All right. Moving along now, we're going to leave live action, but we'll bring you back up to date when we return. First, this message.
You make me cry when you said goodbye. Said a my tears fell like rain.
Say goodbye to a man.
And Dave Sutar now will shoot a 10-pin for the 5th time in this match. While we were away in the 7th frame, he left a 10. Covered it to mark with a spare, and now let's see what he will do. 5th time in this match. Inducted into the PBA Hall of Fame in 1979 and the ABC, American Bowling Congress Hall of Fame in Tulsa just a few short weeks ago. All right. Let's now go to Bo Burton with a special guest.
Thank you, Chris. And with me is a man who has a vested interest in the outcome of today's tournament, the man who's in 52nd place on the bubble at the Firestone, Sam Zurich. Sam, you made the top 24. What was your reaction when you're playing against some of these people that are not eligible?
Nelson, I worked really hard this week, especially against the non-eligibles in the finals, and it's out of my hands right now. I finished 8th, and I'm just hoping that I can hang on for one more week. Probably lose a couple more hairs over this, but I'm going to hang in there.
A super player who has to root for one of the champions to win today, Chris.
Well, now, we have a situation here on the right lane of 4-9. As a result of this shot coming up high, and there is the result. He made this in his last television appearance in Kansas City. Yes, he did. This time, an open frame, and that brings the two professionals closer. In fact, 7 pins now, and we're coming down to that 9th foundation frame.
The 4-9, that was the Jimmy Miller's undoing in the King Louis Open in Overland Park about 4 weeks ago, Chris, when he needed a strike against Don Janelle, left the 4-9 in the 10th frame. Here he leaves it in the 8th frame. Gives Sutar an opening, and this is just what Sutar wanted. One of the great clutch players in the history of professional bowling, sitting on the bench waiting to see what Jimmy Miller can do in the 9th.
Oh, with a lot of body English, just rooting for that strike. But Sutar quickly up and checking the placement of the pin 60 feet away, just making sure. So now it's a 9th frame shot for Dave.
Soupy, who trails by 7, needs a double here either in the 9th or 10th, or 10th and 11th to take the lead. Great clutch player. Has been in the pocket the first 8 frames.
That time, no 10 pin. That was a Hall of Fame shot.
Here's the different lines that the players are playing towards the pocket. There's Jimmy Miller's ball right over about the 11th board, one board inside the second arrow as he struck on the left-hand lane. And Dave Sutar is playing about the same line on the right-hand lane. That's why this is such a high-scoring championship pair. The lanes are very true. But for Dave Sutar, who made an aggressive shot in the 9th frame, he needs a strike here in the 10th to take the lead for the first time.
Using most of the approach. I hit 3-6-10.
Uncharacteristic of that great doubles partner of mine to actually baby the ball or soften it up. And I tell you what, that's a residue of those first 8 frames not being able to get a double on some good hits. The match is not over, though. Dave can make the 3-6-10 spare, get at least a good count, 7 or 8, and he'll force Jimmy Miller to mark.
The native of Detroit, Dave Sutar.
Soupy just needs any kind of count. Just keep the ball in the lane. He's shaking his head in disbelief for a number of reasons. He bowled such a good game to be in the 180s, and it's uncharacteristic of Sutar not to jump on somebody in the 10th. Miller, trying to collect his thoughts, just needs a mark.
A disappointment for the 17-time champion, Dave Sutar. Only $5,500 when he was hoping for the $27,000 first prize. Well, still a possibility. Sutar shooting a 185, and anything can happen, Bose, we have seen in other matches over the years.
Well, the situation for Miller is very similar to what he had in Overland Park. He needs a mark and a good count to win the match. A strike is a lock, but he has to fill this frame.
All right, he has the 7 pin. Looks awfully lonely down there.
Still struggling with his thumb, too. And watch the break he gets on the pin action. Watch the 6 and 10 pins over on the right-hand part of your screen. They almost stand up as he hits high, breaks out the 4, leaves the 7. He must convert this spare. And, Chris, he's having trouble getting out of that ball. That thumb hole is slippery.
Oh, yes. A bit tentative on the approach. You could tell that the tension was there. Some relief. Not yet. Total.
Well, he needs 3 pins to stay behind the line, and he'll win against I'm sure, disappointed great champion Dave Sutar. Really the man that everybody in the field, there he is, was picking to go all the way today. I think if he had snuck by this first match, he'd have been awfully tough. Miller's the winner.
All right, and Sutar with 5 10 pins and 185. Miller shoots a 193, and we'll meet Mark Williams, and we'll continue. Message from one of our sponsors. We're in Connecticut, Windsor Locks. To be exact, Dave Sutar having a tough time, leaving 5 10 pins. Lost to Jim Miller, 193 to 185. And for Jim Miller, who needs to requalify for the Firestone, this is a big match coming up against Mark Williams. Williams from Beaumont, Texas, finished 3rd. Miller now will shoot first, and Bo and I are joined by Pat Boone here in our broadcast location.
And boy, I'm enjoying this. Great bowling.
Be interesting to see if he can rectify the problems he's had with his bowling ball in the first match. Just squeezing a hold of that ball, it'll slide by every single time. Not getting in the lift, and leaves himself a very difficult spare of the 2, 4, 5, 7. Here you see the posture of the ball as it's rolling down the lane. It gets to the 45-foot mark. Does not bite the lane. Almost ends up with a 5 count at the last minute. The 8 pin falls out.
Pat, you were real close to the action prior to coming up here, and I know in your business, show business, there's always pressure. You probably sensed it with these pros, didn't you?
Yeah, I really did. They handle it so beautifully, and Sutar was so cool, but what a crushing thing to leave that 10 pin so many times. I've never seen that on television before, the same pin left so many times.
Beautifully done. Get a close-up of him, Pat. He looks like a young Robert Goulet, Jim Miller, but 27,000 make him look even more like Goulet. 14, 8, 6,500 in Sutar.
He may
55.
sing like Bob Goulet if he wins that.
Right.
Here's Mark Williams. He's qualified for the championship round 4 times in his life, and every time, Chris, it's been in the number 3 position, and all 4 times he's bowled for the title. That means he's won a couple of matches. He has 1 title. As you see his ball going wide, that sharp break at the back end. Head pin goes to sideboard, does the damage. He's off to a great start.
His only win coming in the Waukegan Open. That's the way to start, with a double, putting the pressure on the first game winner, 193 to 185, Jim Miller.
Pat, I was talking with you last night. You said you went out and did a little bowling last week. Tell us about it.
Well, it was last June, actually, and it was the last full game I bowled before I came here. And I was unconscious. I don't know what happened, but I bowled 8 straight strikes and wound up with 10 strikes in that line for a 267.
Going into the Firestone for me next week, partner.
But that's definitely a fluke.
That's great.
Sliding by, leaving the 1, 2, 4, 10. Tough break.
When you just don't have a good feel within that thumb hole, and the ball is not feeling good on your hand, you don't get the lift or the control. As you see this trajectory of Jim Miller's balls, it just doesn't. You see it. He was striking from that position earlier. Without the lift, he slides by and leaves the 1, 2, 4, 10. We call it the washout. Has to hit the head pin on the left and drive it into the 10-pin area to convert the spare.
Disastrous open frame for Jim Miller.
Just too much of the head pin. He drives it straight back. It doesn't get over into that 10-pin area. He misses by about a ½ inch. Jim Miller has another open frame, and he trails Williams by 25 in the early going.
Nelson, when he lets go of the ball, you hear this. Is it normal to make that popping sound as his thumb leaves the ball? probably hear it here.
Pat, is the thumb hole and the finger holes. The pros are so used to bowling, they get them as tight as they can so they get an easy grip on the ball. There, you did hear it. And it's a vacuum effect as the thumb comes out of the thumb hole, as Jim Miller will use a 4-pin in that particular frame. And Pat, while I have you up here, Chris, I spent many hours watching television a couple of weeks ago, watching the Easter Telethon with you and Donna Mills, and you raised a few bucks.
Well, the American people did it really, and a lot of great organizations, $27.5 million, which will help in turn over 1 million handicapable people this coming 12 months. So that's what we feel so great about.
Sounds like enough money to fly Chris Schenkel's jet airplane.
Oh, yes.
Got to get it. We did.
Jim Miller, here in our second match. Pat Boone, there are always rewards at the end of things, was given a white bowling ball, ladies and gentlemen, by John Jowdy.
Oh, the Columbia people made it for me special. I'd never seen an all-white ball. They made me one to match my shoes and my favorite drink.
Was that cow juice?
Yeah, cow juice.
All right, 3 in a row for Mark Williams of Beaumont. Here's a profile replay.
Williams, the most improved player in the Professional Bowlers Tour in the last 2 or 3 years, hits his ball back in a really good position. He used to have it wide behind his back, keeps it locked into his body, plays that deep inside line, that tremendous hook, that almost a lateral attack on the pins. Starts with 3 in a row. He has a commanding 35-pin lead. 4th frame.
Beautiful. 4-bagger. Two 300s during the week. Wayne Webb and Dick Weber with a pair of 300s. Well, don't go away. The action is picking up here in Windsor Locks. With a strike, he has left 2-pin in the 5th frame. Jim Miller, who won the first game, eliminating Dave Sutar by a score of 193 to 185 with 6 strikes. And now we're looking at a man that has 4 in a row, Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas.
In a contrast in style here, Miller, the down-and-in conventional player, much like Sutar, going against the contemporary power shooter. Williams with the big hook. Watch it turn over.
Too much.
Right you are there, Pat. And, you know, today's young players, Pat, I see it in golf and baseball and a lot of other things. You see a replay of the sharp hook of Mark Williams, are more of the power players. And I'll tell you what, in bowling today, it's basically a strike game. Who can throw the strikes? And this young man has thrown a lot of big games during the week. He's had 5 games over 268 in the 42-game format. And as his wife looks on, she's happy with the action so far.
Mark Williams, he's 6'1", weighs 175 pounds, and certainly married a beauty, didn't he?
Sure did. With that gear on his right arm, he looks like one of those transformers that the kids are playing with. He might convert into a car next time.
That's what we call a money maker, Pat.
I see.
Ancillary rights, little extra cash. Does it help, Bo?
Well, for most of the players, Chris, it's both an incentive for a little extra money, and it's a crutch to help a lot of players, just like golfers. As you see Williams slide by and leave the 210, as golfers use the glove. I guess we could get by without it, but it sure helps. And remember, in Baltimore, we saw Williams leave the 2-4-8-10 and convert it as the only time on national television. 2 weeks ago, he made that, Pat.
Wow.
And it's basically the same shot here. He needs to get the ball on the left side of the 2-pin and slide it over into the 10.
Bo, since you own a bank or two, you said a little extra money for that, whatever you want to call it.
Chris, we're going to have hopefully during the telecast, a profile of some of the incentives, and I think these fellows make more than 1,000 for almost every.
Oh, he did. That expression never changed on his face.
He's 2 for 2 on that 2-pin, 10-pin combination. Terrific shot as he maintains a 42-pin lead, and that really puts the pressure on Jim Miller.
6th frame now for the young man from Mesa, Arizona.
All right.
Beautifully done.
That's the way he responds to the pressure.
He won the first match, tight one, 193 to Dave Sutar's 185. You're hearing pinfall from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Gary Skidmore will meet the winner of this match. He is warming up, practicing to our right.
Jim Miller in a must situation, 7th frame. If he strikes out, he could have a 235. Mark Williams at the present time going at a 2:27 pace. But the pressure is definitely on Miller. He must strike. Come on. Oh, babe. Not to be the 10-pin. The same thing that was the undoing of Dave Sutar in the first match that you alluded to, Pat. 6 10-pins left by Sutar here. Jim Miller in a critical situation leaves a 10-pin. A relatively easy spare for top pros, although we saw it missed twice in the first match. Once by Sutar on the right and once by Miller on the left. Let's see how he handles this one.
This 23-year-old, as a rookie, won the Showboat Invitational in Las Vegas, 1982.
Yeah.
We're in our second match. During the closing frames of it, Jim Miller is going against Mark Williams. We'll be back with more following this. Another one. Second time today for Jim Miller.
We alluded to how great a scoring pair the championship pair was and is. But what has happened today is the players cannot carry the corner pins or the apparent good hits. We saw Sutar with a lot of good hits, no result. Jimmy Miller, when he reaches back for a little extra, leaves a solid 8. The best he can bowl if he converts his spare is a 2-0-4 game if he finishes with 4 strikes.
Kept that composure to make certain that he knocked it down. As we look at the leader, Mark Williams shows very little reaction, very little emotion.
He's got a Clint Eastwood quality. He looks at those 10 pins and says, "Go ahead, make my day."
On the left lane. This second match for Miller today, not what he wanted.
He looked at his thumb then as if maybe it really was hanging in the ball. Huh?
Good point, Pat. Up and down. He was losing the ball against Sutar, and he probably put some tape or something in there to tighten it up, and now it's hanging up a little bit. And he's got a major problem right now as he goes for the 3-6-10. The best he can do is 191. Williams working at a 227 pace, just 2 frames remaining.
All right. Jim Miller making his second championship round appearance of the year and 5th of his rather young career.
Miller to lock up, Williams to lock up the match as he uses the full approach in that deep inside line.
Little icing on the cake, huh?
It's a locked-up match. Williams is in the driver's seat. And while I have a chance, Pat, I have to ask you a question. Being a great entertainer, great singer, who is your favorite entertainer-singer besides Pat Boone?
Oh, well, I'm way down
Debbie
the
Boone.
list. But, and, of course, I'd have to keep family members out. Bing Crosby was my favorite. Yeah, oh, aren't you glad he doesn't need that to win?
He is the winner. He will be in the 2 teens, and Mark Williams will go ahead to meet Gary Skidmore, who is in the semifinal match. The last player remaining to win a title will be John Kirker in the final match.
Next week. Now, Mark Williams has eliminated Jim Miller by a score of 215 to 181, which means Mark now will take on Gary Skidmore. It's a Texan versus a 31-year-old from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And next, as happens each week, ABC's Wide World of Sports, the Superbikers, the final of it, and then an interview with Hagler Hearns and NCAA Wrestling Championships. 3-part interesting show, 4:30 Eastern and Pacific, 3:30 Central. And tomorrow's USFL game, the Portland Breakers being hosted by the New Jersey Generals, 2:30 Eastern Time. That's live. All right, it's time now for Nelson Burton's bowling tip of the week. As usual, this is one that will help your game. Watch and listen.
This week, we conclude our 3-part mini-series for women bowlers. Today, Nelson Burton Jr. offers some tips for avoiding some of bowling's fashion hazards. Today's tip is being sponsored by Old Spice Aftershave and Cologne. Splash on the feeling. Splash on the Old Spice.
In our final part of our mini-series for women, we're going to discuss preparation for your day at the bowling center. Now, when you come dressed for the bowling league, you should wear clothing that's kind of loose and not real tight so that your arm swing is not bound while you're swinging through the ball. Another thing that women should watch out for is the bowling ball. Every lane has oil or conditioner on that lane surface. The proprietor has to put it on there to protect the lane and to make the lane very scoreable. The thing for you to do is to make sure you wipe off that conditioner every time before you make a shot to keep it off of your blouse. And the third thing that women have to watch for is care of their hands, to keep from breaking their fingernails or chipping or whatever.
Well, it's not just chipping and breaking, it's the nail polish, too. You men don't have to worry about things like that, but if you could just take a piece of tape and trim the bottom off to make sure that the edges are round enough so that they would adhere to the finger. Push it on and pull it down underneath your ends of your nail that are exposed. Therefore, it gives you a smooth surface on your nails and keeps them from chipping or breaking.
Well, thank you, Sissy. That was a great tip. And thank all of you for paying attention and enjoying the 3-week mini-series we've had for women.
We'll now take on Gary Skidmore. Skidmore finished 6th here last year, 2nd overall. Our tournament leader is a non-winner, a local, John Kirker, big and strong. He's waiting in the wings. First shot, Williams of Beaumont, Texas. 4-pin.
Just so smooth, Mark Williams, and that graphic was very telling on Mark Williams. He's 8-3 in the championship round, and that means, Chris, every time he's qualified, he has bowled for the title. He defeated his very good friend Pete McCordick for his only title in Waukegan by a margin of almost 100, in fact, exactly 100 pins, 257 to 157. That's his only title, and he is eligible for the Firestone.
Mark Williams, who only 2 weeks ago finished 2nd. After stopping 3 opponents, lost in the title match to Wayne Webb. Now here's Gary Skidmore with 4 titles. 6'1", 185 pounds, big and strong. And as Pat Boone introduced him at the top, a former baritone major in college. Speed. Gary Skidmore earlier talked to us about thinking about retirement in time, of course.
Well, I've been out now for 4 years, and I'm really starting to get physically tired from the travel, bowling 30 stops a year. Hopefully I can bowl well for another 4 or 5 years and then cut my schedule back to maybe only bowl 15, 20 tournaments a year, pick and choose my tournaments, and still keep my competitive edge.
Second frame.
Come on.
Left the 7-pin, the 31-year-old who this year is 19th on the money list, 26,415.
As you see him go to the light shot, he carried a wall shot in the first frame. He goes to the wall, watch the head pin in the second frame. Doesn't quite get the 7-pin. Gary Skidmore, disciplined arm swing, excellent style, Chris, very aggressive.
What a year last year, 104,000, one of the 8 to go over 100,000 on tour. Nelson Burton Power.
He really whips it down there, Skidmore. And here's a man with the tender touch, as the late Billy Whalen used to say. He strokes the ball, he plays the lanes meticulously, watches carefully where he sets his feet, sets everything up exactly the same, has good concentration, and just a tremendous strike ball.
Lucky, high hit, leaving only the 3-6-10.
3-6-10, it could have been worse as he cut through. He could have left the 3-6-10 and the 4-7, as you see the roll of the ball of Mark Williams. He goes between the second and third arrows, a little closer to the third, then out to about the 6th board on the lane, breaks up high, leaves the 3-6-10, a tough cross-lane spare.
Next week, the Firestone Tournament of Champions. What a big week for you professional bowlers, Nelson.
The Firestone, the third jewel in bowling's Triple Crown. The only man to win it 3 times is our statistician today, Mike Durbin. He is the defending champion. 40,000 to the winner, a great tournament. Everybody, all the top players, 52 players will be there. John Kirker, our tournament leader, is not eligible. The last man to have a chance to knock out Sam Zurich.
Crossing over, leaving the 3-6. And speaking of Mike, the only man to win the Firestone 3 times. That's unbelievable.
Well, last year he went through 4 opponents as he averaged almost 240, so we can expect anything at the Firestone. The players, as I've always said, it's the easiest and the toughest tournament to win because there's only 52 players, but none of them give up. They're the cream of the crop.
Good job on covering the 3-6 for Mark Williams. And now Skidmore was open with a strike, marked with a spare, shooting in the 3rd frame. The semifinal game, the winner to meet John Kirker of Norwich, Connecticut.
Skidmore, a product of the junior program. He bowled in the All-American Youth Championships, as did the earlier bowler Jim Miller, who finished 4th. Skidmore, a very emotional player. I'll never forget how he cried after he lost the AC Delco Classic to Butch Silver last year.
Look at that. Shades of 1984, and he was on our telecast 6 times and won 2 tournaments. Let's recheck his style.
Skidmore with just an ideal 4-step delivery. Establishes push away early, gets a locked arm swing. Look at that left shoulder balancing the right. Head steady, elbow locked. Great wrist action. Tremendous slide through the shot. Pow, a perfect hit. All 10 in the pit. He leads by 5 pins through 3 frames.
Another re-rack here for Gary Skidmore.
3 re-racks are allowed by each player in every game. If they need more than 3, Harry Golden, the national tournament director, comes out as Skidmore is waiting for the pins. He doesn't like to take a double re-rack. And when you're throwing for this much money, you want to make sure that every pin is positioned just the way you like it. I think he's still shaking his head, Chris, but he doesn't want to take his 3rd re-rack right now. Has a 5-pin lead, can extend to 15 with another strike.
4th frame, Skidmore.
Be there.
You heard him say, be there. That it was. So he has a 15-pin lead. We're in the semifinal match. More of it.
Live at 3 Eastern Time here on ABC.
This is the first ever Pat Boone Open. Our 12th year coming to the Hartford area. We're at Windsor Locks Bradley Bowl. Fans have enjoyed Pat's presence. All right, Mark Williams, hungry. That's
Big hit for Mark Williams there. He was a little slow in the first 3 frames, his ball cutting high. He picked up the speed there in the 4th. Ball ended up right in the pocket, solid strike. Big shot right here. He's bowling against an experienced player, Skidmore. Skidmore gives nobody any slack. One of the top players on the tour, very aggressive, very self-controlled. So Williams has to go after Skidmore and not wait for Skidmore to fall back to him.
Oh, you wait long enough. What a wonderful break for Williams.
3 pound, 6 ounce, and 7 ounce pins we're using here, and watch the action of the 2-pin on the left-hand part of your screen. It goes to the sideboard, breaks up the 4, the 7, and here the 7-pin. The 4 bounces in the 9 and knocks out the 6. A great break, an easy spare instead of a disastrous, tough split.
Semi-final match. The winner to meet John Kirker. Non-winner, an unusual young man from Norwich, Connecticut. He'll enjoy his style. He will meet the winner of this game for the $27,000 first prize.
Wife Sherry Skidmore, who was an excellent bowler at Slippery Rock State College in Pennsylvania. And there he, shortly after, met Gary, and they got married, came out here.
Trouble. Gary has a problem. It's called the 4-6-7.
Ball goes right through the middle. Skidmore, when he had a chance to really put out a big lead, you see the ball going up. Looks like it wants to set in the pocket, but watch the speed he goes with at the 4-7. Skidmore's got the type of style. He might bounce one of these pins out. Look at this.
Nearly broke 2 pins. Skidmore, that open frame following a double, and now we have a match that is even.
One of the great career records in championship rounds, 17-9, as Williams realizes he got a great break. He could have been down by 35 pins. Here he sits up there even.
6, 7, 10.
Well, this is the split that Williams almost left in the fifth frame on this particular lane. As you just see, Gary Skidmore, who was a little bit skeptical of the lane 27 before we went on the air, goes right in the middle, doesn't get a good break. He'll have to go with that great speed and try to get the ball lodged over in that 6-10 zone, try to slide the 6 over into the 7.
We don't see back-to-back open frames that often among these professionals. And that immediately puts Mark Williams into a 12-pin lead.
What a bold try by Skidmore. Gets that ball over, lodged in right. But watch it just slide by this. Oh, 64th of an inch, Chris. He makes that split and stays even. Now Williams has a 12-pin lead, 6 frame.
Spare working. And Williams took some speed off that shot. Well, he approached that line with all the confidence in the world.
Just creeps to the line, this man who has bowled for the title 4 times. If he could win here today, it would be his 2nd title. But he'd be going, as you said, Chris, against the hometown favorite, a man who hasn't cashed a dime on the Pro Tour all year long, John Kirker, a powerful man who is going to be tough to beat in the championship game.
Again, with a wonderful tempo on the approach and release of the ball, and he has doubled. He takes a 22-pin lead. More of this match following this. Bit more. After 2 open frames in the 7th, came up with a beautiful strike, and then left the 7-10. It's another open frame. 3 and 4 frames for Skidmore.
The 7-10, a bad break for Skidmore. One of the reasons he was re-racking so often on the left-hand lane, he left almost the 5-7-10, and he ended up with a 7-10. Now, if Williams can strike on this one, you get Pat Boone to sing the party's over, Chris.
10-pin on the right lane. Or Don Meredith, turn out the lights.
Williams looking at the scoreboard just off to his right. He's going at a 2:04 pace. If he can spare in the 8th, 9th, and 10th, the best Skidmore can do is 191. So it just behooves Williams to keep marking because Skidmore is no slouch, especially down near the clutch situations.
Mark Williams, Beaumont, Texas, looking for his 2nd professional title in his 6th year. Disappointed Gary Skidmore.
Contrast in styles. The mighty arm of Skidmore against the tender touch of Mark Williams. Let's see who wins this semifinal match to go against the unknown, untested tournament leader, John Kirker.
All right. Improving Mark Williams. He appears to be getting stronger with each frame.
And this is the one that really puts out the lights. A strike here in the 9th sets up a possibility that all that Williams would possibly need would be a 9-pin count in the 10th frame to shut out Skidmore. If Skidmore doesn't strike on this ball, it is all over for him. Start singing, partner.
Yep, 4, 6, 10.
It's going to be Mark Williams against John Kirker for the championship. It's an even money bet for Sam Zurich, who's 52nd, sitting on the bubble on the Firestone. He's got a champion in Williams going against the non-champion Kirker, as Skidmore will quickly finish his game.
Mark Williams of Beaumont, 2 victories. Will he tire? Will the pressure get to him? Well, the pressure is on the non-winner, the hometown product, John Kirker on the left. We'll be back. In our live coverage from Windsor Locks, Connecticut on the Professional Bowlers Tour, Williams has won 2 of the 3 matches, 203 to 164 strikes. He goes against Kirker for all the marbles. Next week, the Firestone Tournament of Champions. What a field, those that have qualified.
The 52 players in their hometowns as you look for your favorite. And when we come all the way through the group, you see some of the great ones. Cook's a farmer champion, Berardi and Durbin, all farmer champions. Salvino being there, Davis, Holman, Tommy Hudson, Duffy Troop, Steve Martin, Pete Couture, David Ozio, he won this year. Ron Palumbi is going to have his first shot there. Charlie Lacey, Skidmore, who just lost that match. Trask will be up there. Steve Neff, Pete Weber, Don Janelle, our King Louis champion. Malacosta, Tita Semez. The Eagle, Dale Eagle, flying high at the Firestone.
You did not see the name Kirker. Here is Sam Zurich. If Kirker wins this match coming up, our championship match, Sam will watch along with all of us. There is Kirker. We've talked about him. A 6-footer, 200 pounds, arms like a blacksmith. Ooh, he's practicing. He even looks mean. We talked to him earlier. Ask him about having such success now.
Well, before this week, I started the winter tour out in California, and I really struggled. Not too much went right for me. So I went home after a few weeks, worked on the game, tried a couple more times to come back, and still nothing was going right. And then all of a sudden this week I show up, and things are going great.
This is the Pat Boone Open.
Yeah, Chris, and as Pat Boone looks on, and I spoke with John Kirker and Harry Golden, our national tournament director. Kirker said to Harry Golden, I want to finish last. Put me whatever lane that I can determine my own destiny on. All the other 4 players decided that they wanted to finish on the left-hand lane. Kirker, aggressive, confident, said, I want to determine my own fate. So he'll throw the last ball in the tournament to either be the winner or the loser. Here's his first shot.
Nice little hesitation to the line, and listen to the hometown fans here in Connecticut. Norwich, about an hour away, and he is shooting for the $27,000 in a trip to Akron. 14 to the runner-up in this match. We don't like to call him a loser because, like Mark Williams, he's won 2 games already. Yes, all even after 1 frame.
Mark Williams, not to be denied, he has bowled for the title 5 times. He has 1 victory so far, trying to make it 2. He's a determined, great young man, tremendously improved player. As you look at powerful John Kirker, a player who got his start by being a porter in the bowling lanes in Norwich, Connecticut during his high school days at age 16, used that money to use it as practice time. This was going to be his last tournament, Chris, and he was going to work on a construction job. He's turned it around.
Had to qualify through the Rabbit squad here. And that is tough enough in itself on Monday, Bo.
Agreed. 42-game format. Players all Rabbit on Monday, the non-exempt players. And for Kirker, on the line is a trip to the Firestone. That's a guaranteed $1,500 or $2,000 last, $27,000 first, and getting out of that Rabbit squad when he starts on the summer tour as Mark Williams takes his 3rd re-rack. All 3 that he has allowed in this match, he just took in the 2nd frame.
John Kirker took the time and advantage to look at the pins on the right lane. Oh, he is alert today. He's up against a Tiger in Mark Williams. 2-game winner already this afternoon. Kirker has had to wait. It's been a long night for him after being the tournament leader 4 out of the 6 sessions. Here he is. He has a strike up now. To keep even, he must strike in the 2nd. Oh, yeah. I think he'd have made a great boxer, the way he sneaks up and throws the punch.
Look at that upper arm body strength. He can bench press over 300 pounds, and he's using every bit of it now as he palms that ball. And tremendous wrist action. Great release underneath the shot, very much like Pete Weber's. That hand underneath, the tremendous wrist action. But look at that upper body strength, Chris. He has made it work for him. When the players with the tremendous strength get hot, they are very difficult to beat. Let's see if he can take the lead right here.
A young 24-year-old that reminds you perhaps of a linebacker in football. Baseball player at Norwich Free Academy, going against Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas, who opened with a double, now shooting in the 3rd frame.
So important for Williams to keep striking with Kirker to quiet this hometown crowd.
Well, we've had 3 frames by each professional, 6 strikes.
the trajectory of our two players. John Kirker, our tournament leader, playing that inside line to the outside line. That big power ball he plays between the third and fourth arrows out to about the sixth board, snaps it in. And here's Williams, more conventional, around the second arrow, out to about the fifth or sixth board. Both are perfect through 3 frames.
And they all go for Mark Williams. Nothing but strikes here in the championship match. Going to take a commercial break, necessary, and then we'll be back. A little roulette.
What a pivotal shot in this match, Chris. He sends it wide. That's what a power player has to do, and he really gets a bad break. He leaves what we call the wall shot 7-10. At least he could have gotten one of those pins if he had any kind of luck at all. He'll have to just shoot for one with a little extra speed.
He was hoping. So, after 3 in a row, it's an open frame for non-winner John Kirker of Norwich, Connecticut. Okay, he has hopefully shaken it off. There you see his career earnings.
Last night he was tested for the first time in his career. With 2 games to go, he was dropped to second place. He picked up 100 pins on Gary Skidmore with 256 and 257, so he can answer the bell when it's necessary. He needs to go now.
Leaving the 5-8. Listen to the Connecticut fans, letting them know that they are behind him.
Kirker with a little letdown after leaving that 7-10 split in the fourth frame. Sends the ball wide with not quite the power turn that he had in the first few frames. Leaves the 5-8. A simple spare. Just shoot right for the 5 pin. The ball will carry out the 8.
Now, Mark Williams is up. Williams, 215. There is John Kirker's sister, Kathy.
Good looks running the family.
Mm-hmm.
Williams, perfect through 4, can extend his lead over Kirker to 34 with a strike here in the 5th.
One more.
And gets it. Williams will beat Jim Miller 215 to 181 and beat Gary Skidmore 200 to 160.
The good, great touch that Williams has going right now. He throws that big hook. The ball deflects a little bit as he enters the 1-3, but he keeps that 6 pin in action, gets the love tap on the 10. He has opened with 5 in a row, a 34 pin lead.
Look at that. 5 straight ones.
If he strikes here, he really has Kirker on the ropes.
String ends there. We were hoping that true value would be $100,000 less, because if we get a perfect game one of these days, it'll be $100 grand to the man that shoots it.
The shot of Mark Williams just goes a little high, leaves the 6-10. Gets a good break. Watch the 7 pin. It goes down last. Got to avoid the chop here with 6-10. Cross lane.
All right, now John Kirker is up, 24-year-old from Norwich.
Eastern Regional Director Chuck Pisano told me this is one of the most improved bowlers in his area. A nice young man, has finished 2nd and 3rd in 2 regional or satellite tournaments here in the Eastern region. Pisano said he is not surprised to see Kirker coming into his own.
That one just didn't come up.
Has a major problem now. He's not quite getting that turn on the ball. As you see the ball now, it was breaking back towards the pocket, getting strikes in the first 3 frames. Now with a little extra speed and that disheartening 7-10 split in the 4th frame, John Kirker has come a little bit unglued. He's put himself in a situation where he needs to convert this washout.
Can you believe that one? Too much speed.
Unbelievable. John Kirker came out aggressively, got 3 in a row. Watch the action of the head pin. You're supposed to make this 99 out of 100 when you get that head pin over in that area and it doesn't go around the 10. Chris, it's so unusual to bounce off the sideboard and in front of the 10 pin.
Boy, is he interested, Sam Zurich, on the bubble. A sigh of relief.
Well, he's a really nice guy, but he does have to have mixed emotions, Sam Zurich. There's the big turn.
And when the wheels come off, they do. It's a 4-6-10.
Tournament leaders so far this year have been 8 wins and 6 losses coming into the 15th tournament here, the tournament before the Firestone in our 16-week series. Kirker in jeopardy of having that record drop to 8-7 right now.
And Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas, right from the start, this is his 3rd match today, has been calm, cool, collected, and has done what he needed to do in his 2 victories, 215 to 181 and 200 to 160. Spare working, 7th frame. Three, 6-10.
Well, Mark Williams just goes a little soft with that shot. He really has no problem there. He has a tremendous lead in the match. 55 pins if he converts here, so he's not panicking. I think the big difference so far in the match, 2 points. Kirker getting the bad break in the 4th and 6th frames, and the experience of Mark Williams hanging in there in the first 5 frames.
All right. This man never smiles, but you know, Bo, our vice president of production and senior producer of this series has a smile on his face. Chuck Howard, as a result of a successful lower back operation at Lenox Hill Hospital, he's smiling again. The pain is gone. On his way back to Bedford Village tomorrow and back to ABC, getting ready for the Derby.
That's super. Everybody's happy for Mr. Howard. And here's Mark Williams, who has to have a happy smile on his face right now. Everything going his way.
Only Carol Williams shows emotion.
She's counting the frames. She knows how to keep score, and the situation for Kirker is almost impossible. He must strike.
She's trembling, Bo. She's trembling.
I think she's counting money real fast, Chris. Those are $100 bills slipping right into her hands.
Here's a young man that 3 years ago, some Norwich friends headed by his Uncle Jim, an attorney, agreed to sponsor him on tour. And he said it takes about $23,000 a year to stay out here. Is that right, Bo?
That's it, Chris. 30 to 35 tournaments. It costs you at least $700 a week. This man's going to have a great paycheck, and he has an outside chance of winning, but he must strike on this ball. If he doesn't strike here, it'll be a second-place finish.
All right. Acknowledging as many fans rooting for him here.
Williams in the driver's seat. All he has to do is mark his first name, actually, in one of the last 2 frames. Leads by 45 pins, has a possible 265, but all he's interested in is a score above 210. That would shut out John Kirker.
So just to avoid a long, destructive war. This is almost 1946. Nobody wants bloodshed.
45 pins, has a possible 265, but all he's interested in is a score above 210. That would shut out John Kirker.
So it's a 10-pin on the right lane of this championship pair. They each bowled 2 games throughout the tournament on this pair, and for Mark Williams, he averaged 233, Kirker 240.
And to the chagrin of a lot of us, they're only averaging 189 after 6 games coming into this match. So the TV pair was a little tough for the players today.
Oh, and the lights go on. Pressure of the $27,000 first prize. Kirker's case, trying to win his first. Mark Williams, at whom we're looking to win his second. That all helps to lower scores.
Well, it's a championship round experience, Chris. I bowled a show in Caracas, Venezuela in 1966 where the TV crew didn't show up. So we bowled the championship round anyway without TV cameras, and we all bowled the same. It's the sudden death pressure that makes the difference, not the TV lights.
All right. Mark Williams of Beaumont, Texas. He has won 3 matches, and more important, he has won the winner's share of the $150,000 Pat Boone Open. We'll be back. A 2:45 when he needed it. Mark Williams, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure you realized that you were in alien territory. You didn't have many Texas rooters here, Mark.
I think I had one Texas rooter, maybe two. Our press director's from Texas, but the people in Connecticut are always so nice. It's great to always come back here, and I hope we come here for many more years.
I'll tell you, there was a young lady in the audience that really was trembling. You're more relaxed now?
Yeah, I feel better now, yeah.
Well, let Pat Boone. Pat, what a finish for your first tournament. We hope it'll be many more years.
And I got to take a little credit. I lent Mark my shoes, and I won them back right after the... You ought to wear white shoes every week. Boy, this was a thrilling finish. Let me give you your trophy. And I might give to Carol. She might like this little doodad here, this little bauble for $27,000, your second career victory.
Mark, it seems to me that you have the ultimate in concentration when you're bowling. 3 victories today. There was no emotion on your face. How do you keep as calm and cool as you do?
I feel like the key is just to try to keep the same temperament all the time. If things go good, if things go bad, I have to stay the same. And like I've learned from watching Marshall Holman, he tries to stay calm. When he needs a good shot, he can... Well, he stays calm. When he needs a good shot, he always has something extra to put into the shot. And I feel like I can basically do the same thing.
You know, I worked a lot with Bing Crosby on golf tournaments. But I'll tell you, next in line for coolness is our host here today, Pat Boone. What do you think of your first?
Well, I'm just a tingle. I'm ready for the next one now. I tell you, you watch it on television, and it is exciting, but when you get down here close and you watch so many guys who have such control over that ball, picking off a split like he did in what was it, the second game, an impossible seeming split, but such power, such control power, it is really exciting. I'm hooked.
Well, I think you bowled last in June, nearly a year ago. What are you doing tonight?
Well, tonight I'm going down to Nashville. I'm hosting a big beauty pageant live on Monday night. So it's from bowling to beauty, although there was certainly beauty in this today. And yesterday, the youth tournament, too, the New England youth tournament I got to take part in. And all those kids going back to 5 New England states wearing Pat Boone on their shirt, but all of them winners.
Well, in your spare time, come back and join us next year. Congratulations, Mark and Carol. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the executive producer of ABC Sports is Rune Arledge. Today's show is produced by Amy Sachs, directed by Terry Jastro, technical director Bob Bernthal, associate director Joe Novello. This is Chris Schenkel along with Nelson Britton Jr. saying so long from Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Stay tuned now, because next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, today you'll see the dramatic conclusion of the Superbikers, Supermen on Superbikes from Carlsbad.